Hey everybody, I think I'm live and I'm using my mic that was fixed last week. I hope it is working. Uh and I hope this isn't like super loud or like blaring in the speakers of your computer. I am responding to a blog comment here. I'm just gonna give me a second. I'm gonna share this over in my Facebook group. I would love for you to join us if you're watching this. It's called Thriving in Business and Love. It is the go-to place for creative entrepreneurs who are here to have it all, not just, be amazing in business, but also have fantastic relationships. All right, I'm very excited because I'm recording an interview for my new podcast, which has not been released yet, called Possibility TV in just 25 minutes. Um, I'm sharing this as we speak, so I haven't dove in yet to the topic. Share. I'm going to share this group. You have to do it when you're live, and so obviously I can't, talk and type at the same time because, gosh forbid. All right. Codependency. Who's codependent? Who around here is codependent? Okay, so I wrote a few years ago a post called "The Myth of Codependency." And it's got a lot of comments and things like that. And basically, the point is that I think the word codependency is thrown around a lot, and I wrote it really just based on a lot of my training in emotionally focused couples therapy, which was a type of couples therapy created by Dr. Sue Johnson. Um, and she talks about our human needs to connect, our human needs to really ultimately depend on each other because that's how we're created. And there's been a lot of talk about how, you're supposed to raise yourself up by your bootstraps and be independent and da da da. And basically the post was kind of around how that's not the case. And I think I quote her in it. If I didn't, then I should. One of her quotes that I love is, there's no such thing as codependency. There's only ineffective or effective dependency. Now, codependency, yes. If you're walking around, sacrificing all your needs and trying to be a martyr in your relationship and doing whatever you can to keep the person around, like, yes, that's not effective dependency. That's ineffective dependency. But the word codependency, how it gets thrown around, kind of it takes away from this idea that we actually are interdependent. And I think about this a lot in terms of, and I talk about. I was just talking to somebody yesterday about it as well in terms of like where is the line between me and you, right? We're all, I mean, if we think about all spirituality and what all the, all of the ideas that we are all one, we are all connected. And yet, how do we function as individuals and thrive in our best relationships with our significant others, with our clients, if we are creative entrepreneurs in service-based businesses? I think that, there's a lot of talk that's out there that's like, you know what, like it puts in terms of like the coaching industry, like I thought about it a lot in terms of the coaching industry. I've heard coaches say things like, once they complete the welcome packet, like my work is done. Like I'm not responsible at all for my clients' results. And I think that, there's a pendulum. It's like, yes, you don't want to be, you can't really, if I'm just trying to think, I'm thinking to myself, is it true that you can't care more than your client about their results? I don't know. I mean, obviously the client has so much to do with their results if you're talking about coaching or therapy or anything like that. But there has been an abdication of responsibility in the field to a large extent, at least the way I see it, or at least from my experience with certain, with some people I've worked with. It's just a tricky place though, because because if you care too much, right, and if it matters so much to you and that you take everything personally, then that's a problem as well. But I'm going to get into the post. The reason why I'm recording this video is because I did get a comment on my blog about this recently, and I wanted to talk about it because my new thing is recording videos about these comments I get because I just love them, and I get, a number of comments. So I wrote this post about codependency, and I'm going to just check out my, if anybody is here, I'm not even paying attention. Nobody's here. If I would love for people to join me, obviously, and give me a shout if that's the case. But right now, I'm going to head over to the blog and read a couple responses, because it's sort of somebody commented in response to somebody else. So somebody wrote, where's the post itself? Okay, somebody writes, uh-oh, maybe I lost it. Oh yeah, okay. All right, so this is a response, but basically on this idea of codependency. And we're talking about addiction now too, because I wrote this post. There's a really fantastic, if anybody has a loved one who's experiencing any kind of addiction, or maybe you're in the throes of addiction yourself, there's a really fantastic TED Talk. I will put it in the comments. The opposite of addiction. I don't know if this is what it's called, but it's Johan Hawari, and I'll put the link in the comments, because I don't know exactly what it's called, but the takeaway is, the opposite of addiction is not sobriety. It's connection. Okay. So I wrote this post, and somebody writes, this is actually over 2 years ago now, almost 3 years ago. She writes, glad to find another soul that doesn't believe in the whole codependency label. My son has a disease of addiction, and if I ever dare to express my anxiety over his condition or share the grief it has caused for me and my family, somebody tells me to get help for codependency. As if everyone who is the parent of a child with the disease of addiction catches codependency automatically. Maybe it's their way of saying they don't want to hear what I'm saying, or don't understand that parents of addicts often have anticipatory grief and PTSD-like problems from the trauma of never knowing when the next shoe will drop. If my son had any other life-threatening, chronic, progressively worsening disease, and I expressed concern over things I was faced with because of the disease, no one would call me codependent. I'd be a good parent concerned about my child. But if the child has an addiction, the parent may have codependency if they care about their child. Now look, I know a lot of people, this is me not talking now too. I know a lot of people have definitely, there is sort of, it's not a black and white issue, because there is a line where, oh, I'll do anything for you, anything, like, oh, here, let me buy you beer. Like, that's enabling. That's not necessarily the best, thing either. But I really appreciate what this person is saying, because I think it's probably something that a lot of people who have anybody in their life who struggles with addiction shares, is this idea of codependency. Well, look, this is your son that you're talking about. Of course you care. Of course you're willing to make maybe a sacrifice to help this person. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're being codependent. So I respond somewhat, and somebody else says, I know how you feel, I understand, and it makes my blood boil when people take that stance. This was actually recently. So then this was like last month. Actually, wow, that was pretty recent. And then somebody else just replied the other day, same here, so very glad I have found this place, synchronicity at work. And I really appreciate, I'm going to put this video at your comment, because everybody who writes on my blog, it just means so much to me for total strangers to be responding to what I'm putting out there and to talk about it. So I'm just giving it more attention by recording these videos. So somebody writes, same here, so very glad to have found this place, synchronicity at work, I think. And I love that word, synchronicity, and I love the concept. It's also important to remember that individuals differ greatly in their writing, and that some people are just naturally far more sensitive and empathetic than others. We need more connection and deeper intimacy, and we're never going to be satisfied in relationships with people who are different on this level. I've learned this the hard way, and I'm having much better luck now as I consciously try to steer myself toward people more like me on this level. There's nothing wrong with us for being more emotional, and pathologizing our hardwired nature is both severely misguided and often destructive. Pathologizing difference is a very common and very old tendency. But I think we've reached absurd heights in this culture to the point of pathologizing humanity, period. I'm healing from the effects of poisonous pedagogy as I educate myself. The Healing Connection, that's in quotes because it's a book, The Healing Connection and some of Alice Miller's books have been really helpful for me. I have not read, this is me now, I love this comment. I couldn't agree with you more about just the difference in the pathologizing of differences. And if, I'm a psychologist, I did I go to school? I went to school when the DSM-4 text TR, the Diagnostic and Statistic Manual of Mental Disorders was, I think it was just the 4TR text revised edition was just came out. So I got to like hang on to that one. Was with that one for a while. And then the DSM-5 came out, and basically, the book keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger with more and more and more pathologized conditions. Again, I think there is a place for psychiatry. I'm not in psychology. I'm not saying like, depression isn't real or anything like that. But I am saying that, there is something about that where, the list keeps growing. And look, I mean, you look back till I think it was the late 70s. I think that's when in 77, oh gosh, all my fact checkers come out. I don't know exactly when, but in the late 70s or the early 80s or mid 70s, homosexuality was a disease. Okay. It was a mental disorder. So yes, this is a problem that's how we've thought about things. And people take these books and these classifications as law, but they're really, a bunch of psychiatrists sitting around in a room and saying, okay, well, this is what I see and we can classify it this way. And yes, it does serve a purpose, largely for billing. It does serve a purpose, largely for the pharmaceutical industry. It does serve a purpose to some extent because, knowing that, oh, wow, like that's what that is. And there is treatment that works for those disorders as well. Not homosexuality, but like depression and things like that. Like I am not saying homosexuality is a disorder in any, like I'm appalled that was ever even in there. So I really appreciate your comment. And I think that I'm going to just go look over now that I've read the comment. Nobody's here. Okay. I really do appreciate the comment. Somebody's here. If you're here, give me a shout. Let me know if you have thoughts about this issue. I do appreciate that comment. And in terms of being more empathetic and emotionally sensitive, I think that at the end of the day, it's astonishing sometimes when I'm working with a couple and one partner recognizes that the other person has feelings and actually is affected deeply by things. We all have emotions, like all of us, and being able to get more in touch with them, to connect with them more, and to share them and be more vulnerable when it's appropriate with the people that we can trust, that we'd like to trust. It's an act of courage at times, especially if there has been a divide. But it's also super healing and incredible and, all the rest. And I think that, in business coaching, it's absolutely necessary. I mean, if you're creating a business, I'm going to wrap up in a couple minutes. But if you're creating a business where, you're the face of your business, even if you're not really, but, I mean, even if it's a profession, whatever it is, if you're the face of your business, which you are to some extent, looking at this stuff and facing your fears with somebody in a deep, authentic, connected, interdependent way is absolutely critical to be able to, I feel get the best results, right? I mean, that's just sort of, maybe it is that everybody's different, but on all levels, we all are emotional beings, and we all are interdependent, and we have emotional needs that cannot be met in a vacuum, and that we require others to connect with in order to sort of get them met. And I think that, this sort of ideology about being independent and taking responsibility for yourself and all the rest, it leaks into every area of life in some ways, especially, and I guess I've seen it a lot. It wasn't until I personally worked with a coach who like really, really, really showed up and really, 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 really cared. And like, I mean, it makes a big difference. And so until then I was like, oh, like it almost gave me permission to care even more, or at least to show that I cared even more about my clients. Cause that's obviously what I'm here for. Cause I do care about people and I do care about, their results. Like what's more fulfilling than being able to see somebody that you support, like do really well, feel really good, right? Have like an even more fulfilled life. Like I can't think of that many things. Like, yeah, okay, I haven't been skiing in a while and I really can't wait to do that. But that's, I couldn't do that day in and day out and not sort of like, you know, have a need for something more. So we are wired. There's a great article that was recently released about the need to be needed, and it's part of who we are as humans. So I'm going to wrap this up. I've been rambling on enough, but I wanted to just thank everybody who's been on that thread, the myth of codependency, especially your comments and supporting each other. I invite you all to join my Facebook group, Thriving in Business and Love, so we can, I mean, it's just a lot easier to get onto a Facebook thread and comment there than I feel so bad sometimes because these blog comments add up and then I don't respond for days, and sometimes I miss them. I don't see them. I don't always get notified. So maybe I need to fix that up too. But anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. If you have thoughts, feedback, if you feel like you're codependent, if you question, are you codependent? Let's talk about this. This is an important topic because we need to take a responsibility for each other. I'll just say one more thing. I was actually putting something together last night for you guys, and I was looking up some quotes, and Joe Biden had a great quote, which was, oh gosh, let me give me a second. I'm going to find the quote because I put it into my little. I'm creating an ebook. I'm creating a book with author pub. I usually just send them out and have somebody else do it, but I was like, I just want to do this myself. Where's my Joe Biden quote? Come on, Joe Biden. Okay, nope, that's Henry Ford. Maybe I shouldn't have, maybe I didn't save this. Oh, that's too bad if I didn't save this. Oh gosh, now I'm connection to the, no. All right, well basically it's too bad. I must have lost it. The quote basically was, I'll just tell you in my own words, which kind of takes away the point. The quote was basically something like, we've gotten so obsessed with individuality, we've forgotten about community, in so many words. And I couldn't agree with that more. So join the community. Stay tuned for more. I appreciate you. I'm going to sign off. I hope you have a fantastic Tuesday, and catch you later.